What's up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 95 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great, continue to be amazing. We got an amazing show lined up for you today. But first, here's a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Victory Legal Solutions. Victory Legal Solutions is a company created and owned by Vanessa Ramirez. Their goal is to help navigate your legal situation and get you connected with the legal team that treats you like a client, not a number. They provide solutions for your car accident problems, including towing, rental, repairs, medical, and legal. So regardless of fault, give your Victory team a call and let them give you the options to make the claims process less stressful. That's Victory Legal Solutions, taking your legal matters under their wings. If you guys caught episode 94, you saw we had none other than my man 3 from the Lynch Mob. And let me tell you, boy, does that guy have some stories. You know what I'm saying? So much history, man. You know, from being with D30 Ice and then later on forming with Cube and being a part of the Lynch Mob, you know, and just everything that they were accomplishing there. And it's like, you know, a lot of people don't really even mention D30 Ice when it comes to Arizona hip hop. You really don't hear them. And it's unfortunate because they truly paved the way for practically everybody out here. You know, they were grinding since the 80s out here, man. And, you know, so it's truly an honor to have them on the show. Gosh, man, I mean, it was just like a movie. It was almost like the NWA movie, you know. Who knows, man, maybe in the future we'll get Cube on the show. So we'll see, you know. But, man, shout out to you 3, and thank you for being a part of our show. And make sure you guys watch episode 94. All right. But today's guest is a pioneer in the Arizona radio scene and has paved the way for so many female radio personalities. We're going to talk about how she got her start in radio, as well as her music background prior, including her son Heaven Sent, who was featured in the film Backstage. We're going to talk about how she became the host of the legendary Friday Night Flavas. We're going to talk about her working with Crazy Kid and Ruben S., her health and wellness journey, and so much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Corina.
Hey, what's up? It's Corina. Man, it's been a while. All I'm saying is, just give me 5. How did I get into radio? I actually did not get into radio. Radio kind of got into me. It's a really funny, interesting, long story, but I'll make it short enough. Go all the way back to me as a kid. I sang in every local talent show, and I grew up in Illinois and Wisconsin. I moved to Wisconsin before moving here in the late 80s. But growing up, you know, I had siblings. There were 4 of us, 2 boys, 2 girls. Yeah. We were definitely the Jacksons. You know, we sang all the songs and did all the dances, but it pretty much was in the house. Right. But my goal, if anyone would have asked what I wanted to be when I grow up, it was a mother and a singer, or someone who got to touch and reach and affect a lot of people. That was my goal, my mission, and what I felt was why I was here on this earth. Right. From a really young age. Like, I knew I wanted 2 boys, 2 girls. I have 2 boys, 2 girls. Wow. I knew I wanted to be able to like talk to people in a big fashion or perform on stage and get to really affect people in a positive way. Right. So fast forward, I move here. I meet a guy, we date for years. The day I meet him, he tells me he's gonna be he's gonna own a recording studio, he's gonna have a record label, and he was gonna marry me. Wow. He did all of those things.
Talk about manifestation.
Man, I was like, yeah, really? But yeah, really. So we got married, had 2 children, and then our studio started literally in like our laundry room in a house in Mesa. Then we went from the house in Mesa, the laundry room, which he called his bomb shelter because it was like brick walls all the way around, and we moved the washer and dryer outside into the carport so that he could have it as a studio. And it was just pre-production stuff. He started producing and started working on beats and started, plus he was a hip hop artist, so it was like perfect for him, rap, do the beat, the whole thing. DJ, he kind of was like all of the things, even graffiti.
One-man band.
So like all the elements of hip hop, he was super passionate.
Right.
And I was really passionate. Hip hop had just become our life, really.
Yeah.
So we had our studio, it grew, we grew musically with what our goals were. We started working with other little local artists. Eventually we branched out and actually moved our studio into a building on 4th Avenue in Camelback. It's now a hotel, I'll have to show you pictures.
Okay.
4th Avenue in Camelback, there's this big blue metal, like iron building called the Orleans Building. And we moved Real Records into there, right across from the trails that eventually burned down. Do you remember the trails that was there?
Right. Okay.
So we were right there. And we had our studio. We rented, first we just were gonna rent one office. Then we're like, man, but we're gonna want a lobby and we're gonna want this. And we found out the price and we're like, we can do this. We can do this. So we rented 2 offices, the front and the back, and we built a sound booth. We didn't ask.
Right.
We just went full send on a sound booth with the double pane glass and everything. And it was perfect. We had a lobby where people could come and hang out, play video games, hang out with my kids. You know, my kids were always with us. It was kind of the thing. It's like, this is a family business. If you knew me and my husband, you knew our children. You knew Harrison and Sky first.
Yeah, man.
Harrison, by the time he was 4 years old, met Black Thought and the Roots at Circles Records.
Wow.
And they actually named him Heaven Sent.
They're the ones who gave him the name?
That's where he got his name.
Wow.
So that started his real serious interest. Once he started meeting the artists and spitting his little raps that were nothing but like recycled Method Man lyrics with his own stuff in it, because he loved Method Man, but he would just spit Meth's lyrics and then insert his own stuff into it. And he was 4, you know, what do you know? He met the Roots, game changer, changed his life, changed our lives, because then we were like, okay, we could really work on this dude as an artist, you know?
Yeah.
And we did. We started really working on Heaven Sent, letting him get in the booth when people are in the studio, letting them sit in on sessions. And in the midst of this, we started a group called The Franchise.
Yeah.
It was Sing Q,
Yeah.
Kawan, the Shogun, Dexter, Windex, Anthony, 50/50, DJ Robbie Rob, who was,
Wow.
I mean, come on. That's all I have to say. DJ Robbie Rob was a DJ. And then Heaven Sent.
Yeah.
And that became the focus of my life, for real. My life personally, because at the time my husband was working at the Bank One ballpark, they were building the ballpark. And he was a superintendent out there, so a lot of times he'd work nights. I'd go right over down the studio and record. People who came in to record, we'd do night sessions. The kids would be sleeping in the front on the couches and watching kids' movies. And so it was just, that was our family, was that. Well, then we decided, how would we figure out how to make our artists really get our artist name out there? Well, street teams were really big then. So it was like, I started really looking into all the things that created a good dynamic for a real serious, solid business and a structure for my group that would make them undeniably recognized and have a good understanding of the business. So every Gavin convention, I took the franchise. We went to San Francisco, LA, New Orleans. We went, and this is long before radio. I hadn't even touched radio yet. The way I was touching radio was, wait a second, how do we get our records played? Well, remember, this is a time when radio was still really fun like this, where you can meet DJs and they will play your records if they really believe in you. So our thought process was, meet the DJs, go to these Gavin conventions, which were for radio personalities, and the DJs, like turntable DJs. And we traveled all over, and I took the whole group. Sometimes I take 2 or 3, but we would go and hit up the Gavin and meet all the most important people in the country. And the thing is, I had no knowledge of what we were doing. We were just kind of making it up as we went along. We were like, this is how we meet people. And for me, it was just mouthpiece. Who do I talk to? All right, who do I talk to? You know what? I'm gonna call this person. I would get on the phone to the record label and call a record label. I mean, the biggest record labels.
But these were the times when you had to do that.
And you could.
Media then, you had to do that.
No such thing.
Right.
I would literally look up a phone number.
In the yellow pages.
Swear to God.
Yeah, man.
Look it up.
Yep.
Call the record label. Ask for someone whose name I found. I would look through credits on albums and go, oh, this person did H&R. I did A&R. I'm going to call this person and see if I can arrange a meeting with my artist. And the funniest thing is, you wouldn't believe how often that worked.
Yeah.
How I took, Sing Q and I went with Heaven Sent to New York, and we went to MCA, we went to Trackmasters, we went and saw Foxy Brown's brother. We went in his office, me, Sing Q, Heaven Sent. We go into the Trackmaster studios, and we go into Anton Marchand, it's Foxy Brown's brother's office.
Yeah.
And there's this kid sitting there, and he's leaning back on the chair, and he's got this little piece around his neck, and he's real chill. He says what's up to us, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Corina, and this is Sing Q, and this is Heaven Sent. And he was like, yeah, I'm 50.
Wow.
And my son goes, keep in mind, Heaven is like 8. Heaven looks at him and goes, you can't be 50. We already got a 50-50 in our group, so you can't be 50. But he's talking to 50 Cent.
That's 50 Cent.
It's 50 Cent before he's ever signed a deal. He's like 17 years old.
50 Cent days.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so he tells him he can't use the name because we already got some. And I'm like,
Gosh.
we just died. We laughed so hard. He laughed too. He's like, all right, Shawty, I hear you. I feel you, but I'm 50 Cent. He's like, oh. All right, he's 50-50, all right,
It's cool, we get a pass.
It's so, so that's the kind of stuff we were into. It was like hitting the labels. We went to the Source. I ended up getting the franchise in the Source. Heaven Sent, right up in the Source, the Vibe magazine, XXL. Took them around to every concert. It's funny, I established a partnership with Ty. And Ty, when I moved here in '86, I have an older brother who was best friends with Ty. When Ty started doing, I'm talking Tyree Michael Carter, TMC. When he started doing warehouse parties, my brother was one of his best friends. He was there, going to the warehouse parties at the very least, but helping, being up in the mix.
Right.
So I knew Ty.
Right.
And all of this before radio. All of this just me hustling, just, all right. And my husband would go, what if you just call this person? You know what? Are they going to tell me no?
Exactly.
So that was really my intro to radio, was trying to figure out what I was going to do to get my artists on the radio.
Is that because Heaven Sent was in backstage, right?
Yes.
Is that how he got in the movie?
So he got in the movie because at this point,
how a lot of people really found out about him. He
Yep.
was the kid in backstage.
the kid in backstage.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy story. So let me tell you how to get into radio, and I'll tell you how we get to that.
Let's do it.
So with that in mind, Wu-Tang was coming to town. What I was going to say about Ty is we had this crazy relationship because we were friends.
Yeah.
He was throwing every concert, and I was on the phone calling the artists before they came saying, hey, let's hook up when you get here. So I was always, it didn't matter. If Ty was throwing a show, I was absolutely going to make sure I was there. A, he threw the hottest shows.
The hottest.
B, I got to have my artists there. No one's going to know who they are if they're not in the mix. So we would go to everything, deal with all the local artists. We recorded half the local artists. And we did stuff that they couldn't go to Porcupine or Salt Mine to do because a lot of local artists didn't have the money for that.
Yeah.
So our connect was, you could pay $30 or $40 an hour over here, where you're going to pay $100 if you go to Salt Mine. We know that, But yeah, you're going to see DMX, but
And you're still gonna get good.
and you're going to have the best quality.
Yeah.
But we can do the pre-production stuff and give you a good quality product if you want to press it yourself or put it out, throw out a tape. We were throwing out tapes. We were doing all that.
Right.
Wu-Tang was coming to town September 20th, 1996.
Okay.
I only know that because it's 5 days before Heaven Sent's 5th birthday, so he was still 4 years old.
Gotcha.
And I told him I was taking him to Wu-Tang and he was going to meet Method Man for his birthday. And if I said I was doing something, that was happening. That shit was going down.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if I told my son or my artist, hey, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we are? Yeah, we're going to do this.
We're gonna do it.
So
That's
Wu-Tang's coming to town, and I still don't have tickets yet. But weeks before that or months before that, I had called Wu-Tang's management company and talked to their main dude.
Yeah.
And when I called him, he goes, hold on, I'm burning my turkey bacon. Lock that in. Fast forward, because I say, hey, you guys, I think you're coming to Phoenix on your tour. He's like, yeah, hit me up when we get there. I said, cool.
Right.
The day of, I hit him up. Hey, it's Corina. We talked a few weeks back. You were burning your turkey bacon, you know? Oh, yeah. I said, hey, you know, you guys are going to be here. He said, let me hit you back. You know, obviously, they're traveling all that. I said, all right, cool. So then on the radio was this night show. They were the #1 night show, and they were just badass. They were badass around the country. They were very well known. Mikey on the mic, not Mikey Mike, not to be confused for Mikey Mike, but Mikey on the mic and Big Willie.
Okay, yeah. Big Willie.
Do you remember them?
Yeah.
They did nights at Power 92.
Yeah.
So they were on the radio. I had never met them. I had heard them, didn't know what they looked like or anything. We didn't have the internet. And they're like, we're gonna be out at Metro Center. Y'all come through, blah, blah, blah. They were gonna be out there broadcasting for hours. I was like, to every franchise member, let's go. Get dressed, get your shit together. We're going to Metro Center. I want you guys on, like, really, really bring it. We're about to meet the radio dudes. And they're like, cool. I take vinyl. I take every piece of everything we got, t-shirts. I take cassettes. And the whole crew, and we all mob up to Metro Center. And of course we got Heaven Sent in tow, and he's 4. And he's like the baddest little, you know, with Tim's and shit. Like the boy is just undeniable. And it was him. It wasn't like us making him do it. This is who this boy is. So we get to the mall, and I see them on this stage. They got a full stage inside the mall. They're broadcasting live, and it's crazy. And I had never really seen the stations do that here. So I go up to Mikey and I'm like, hey, I'm Corina. And I'm dressed like, I wore business suits and stuff because I wanted to make sure I had your eye. When we went to the Gavin conventions, I was dressed up. Not, even though I'm hardcore like East Coast, the South, hip hop, I didn't dress that part. I dressed I am the manager. These are my artists. I want to get your attention. And in that instance, I met Mikey on the mic. Big Willie was doing the broadcast and Mikey looks at me and is like, whoa, hold on, who is this? And what is all of this? And I mean, I got the whole crew.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, this is how you do it. And I mean, straight up on the radio. If you're a local artist and you want to get our attention, then this is how you do it. You come professional, you bring your A game, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop.
Right.
We get off the air and he's just like, this is awesome. I give him the vinyl and I'm like, yes, can't believe this shit worked. And he's like, y'all going to Woo tonight? I said, well, we want to, and I've got to call into the manager, but I don't have tickets yet. He's like, how many you need?
Yeah, man.
Done. We go back to the studio over on Camelback. We get our thoughts together, what we're going to do. We're going to mob up. It's at the Coliseum. We go to the Coliseum.
Okay.
It's a night from hell for Ty. I feel bad. It was just a nightmare.
This is the one he was talking about on our show. Where they showed up late.
Late.
Yeah.
Man, people almost got killed over this show, for real.
Yeah, man.
And I'm there. We don't know all the drama. We know that they're not on stage. We don't know if they're coming. There's rumors meth isn't coming, and wasn't nobody trying to hear that.
No.
But meth didn't come.
Okay.
Meth didn't come. And I don't think ODB was there either. He wasn't.
Oh, man. And Heaven Sent was destined.
But Heaven loved all the Woo. And he knew he loved Ray. He loved Ghost.
Okay, yeah.
Loved RZA.
Yeah.
So it's still all right. So concert's dope. It goes off finally. Afterwards, I'm like, you guys just go meet me around the back. I'm going to figure this out. To the franchise. You guys drive around the building because they're kicking us out. Go around the building. I'm going to call the manager. And we're going to be back there. Just wait.
Right.
You just wait.
Yeah.
Trust me. And so we did. I went down. I called him on his phone. He said, hey, I got a lot of shit going on right now. Let me send my guy out. He sent security out to get me in Heaven. Right. And he looks down at Heaven. He's like, come on, shorty. You don't need to be standing out here, And we go backstage. And he goes, where's the rest of your crew? I said, they're probably up at the top of the ramp. I told him to wait up there. He's like, yeah, I'll go get them. And he goes and gets all the franchise, and they come down, and they all get to meet all the Woo and rap for him. And it's like, Z-Trip is there. Yeah. I have pictures somewhere. Young Z-Trip. Young Z-Trip. I got to hit him up because he has a video of Heaven rapping for, I think, RZA.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was, I have a photo of him taking the video.
Oh, God.
But anyways, that was the start of the confidence boost and the start of a relationship with a radio personality who the minute he met me said, you belong on the radio, girl. He called me Corina with charisma.
Okay.
So fast forward, he hits me up right after that show, Mikey on the Mic.
Okay.
Hey, and y'all got a studio? I want to come through. I want to check y'all out. We established a working relationship with him right away. He's in doing production. He was a producer, but he didn't have a full studio, and we had a bit of a bigger studio. We had ADATs, you know.
Oh yeah.
We had a nice setup for something that wasn't the biggest setup, but it was soundproof. Everything was nice.
Right.
Our relationship became a dope ass working relationship where he came in the studio, and when Big Willie didn't show up, he'll call me and put me on live, on the air, on the phone. So I broadcast with him a couple of times like that. Didn't think anything of it.
Okay.
Things, I don't know really what happened. They kind of weren't at power anymore, and then Mikey disappeared for a little bit, and then Mikey popped up at my studio one day on a Wednesday, and he says, Corina, he's calling up. I'm on the 3rd floor. He's honking his horn. I look out there. He's like, 'cause he didn't have my number anymore for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I look down. It's Mikey on the mic. He's like, I got a radio show, mornings. You want to do it? I told you if I ever got mornings, you had to do it with me. You want to do it? And I was like, dude, I haven't even seen you in months. Like, where have you been? And he says, I know, but listen, I'm good. You know, I've worked through some things, whatever. Come meet me tonight. IHOP, 40th Street and Thomas, 44th Street and Thomas, something like that. Go over there and meet him at midnight on Wednesday night. Mind you, I have a recording studio, a street team that's working for Puff Daddy and every major label. I didn't tell you, I worked out the street team thing to figure out how to piggyback my own stuff and promote it, but get paid for it. So I started hitting up labels saying, hey, I got this bomb-ass street team out here. Hit me up. If you want us to work your independent projects, independent labels were awesome because they paid so much then to do their street team sniping and hand-to-hand and lots of pictures. And every week I'd send them reports. And so we had our hands in a whole lot of stuff, the entire underground hip hop industry, everything that was going on here with local hip hop. And now I've got this radio thing, but I'm doing so much here.
Yeah.
And you're just asking me to come to California with you for a radio show. So I go meet him that night at the IHOP. It's Mikey on the mic, Big Willie, and these two dudes named DJ X-Ray and DJ Slice. He said, we're gonna have this big badass morning show. And he kept calling that. And then he's like, I think we're gonna call it the Big Badass Morning Show. I said, that's never gonna happen. But I didn't know anything about radio. I just said, hey, he's like, listen, they trust me. I've been there. We were #1 there. It's B95 in Fresno. I was like, Fresno? I'm like, I never even heard of Fresno. I hadn't. I'm from the Midwest. I knew nothing about California. So I was like, Fresno, well, okay, California, that's a commute. Easy. I'll work on the week. I'll come home on the weekend. I was so wrong.
Right.
I think I came home twice.
Yeah.
And then a month later, I had to move the studio, the label, the street team, all to Fresno.
Right.
The franchise were there like every weekend recording and coming out and doing radio shows and coming out anything that we had that we gave away to winners. I'd have them come out. Come on, come with us. We're going to LA. We're going to this party. West Side Connections having. We're going to this thing at.
And now you're on the radio. So
And now I'm on the radio, which is crazy because
all the plugs now.
to everything.
Yeah.
But he asked on a Wednesday, and Friday I left.
Wow.
And I left my husband, the 2 kids, the studio, the label.
48 hours from the IHOP meeting?
48 hours. Less because it was midnight on Wednesday, and Friday morning I had my shit in a suitcase and was like, we out.
Right.
I'm still totally thinking I can commute.
Right. Yeah.
But then we get in the car and start going. It's an 8.5 drive. I've never even been to Fresno.
Yeah.
And I said yes. And I'd never been on the radio, and I had no idea. So there's the very short version of how I got into radio was I was doing all this other stuff, and it was kind of just I think it was just destined to be because it fell in line with the path of everything I was doing. My only reserve was, will it conflict with everything else I'm doing? Will I not be able to play my artist songs? Will I not be able to contribute? What won't I be able to do? But it definitely didn't hurt us at all. Friday night Flavas. Well, I'm gonna back us up a tiny bit. Tell you I stayed in Fresno for 1 year.
Yeah.
I left Fresno because the dynamic of the show was just off. There was a lot of little inner turmoil. The station had changing of PD and this happened and this happened. And I finally got to where I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to pick my marriage over this radio thing. Because if I'm unhappy and I go home and I'm taking any of this stress into a situation that was already stressful, because we were somewhere he did not want to be. So it's like, I'm gonna have to make a determination now on whether I stay here and keep, because I didn't like spend my whole life trying to get into radio.
Right.
So I didn't think I was a radio personality. I was a personality on the radio. So I was like, hey, I mean, there's radio stations in Phoenix. I didn't even still yet understand the level of markets and that I was in Fresno and Phoenix is like here and that I had no idea. But what I did have was Steve Smith, rest in peace, who was like radio god. For real. He was the consultant to all of the radio shows that were anything we're talking about. Steve Smith was the consultant. And when I landed in radio, I landed right in his hands. Right in his hands. He's the one who had to actually say, yeah, bring her on. When they're trying to bring on this big badass morning show and bring all these people into a room and get us all paid. Crazy. So I did not have enough of the knowledge about how it all worked. And I didn't even care at that point because I had so many other things going on that when things seemed not exactly like I thought they should be for a good life, for quality of life for my children and quality of life for my company and all this I had invested in, I had to come back to Phoenix. Come back to Phoenix, call Steve Smith. Steve, I still want to do this. And he's like, because he said, if you're going to go home, fine. You know, Phoenix is a much larger market. I go, well, all right, well, I'm just going to go do what I do. I'm going to get back to my business because it's been missing me. I want to do the things that I was doing. So I get back to Phoenix and I hit up Steve and he says, call Bruce and Charlie. That was kind of difficult because you had to get through this person and that person to call Bruce and Charlie. And I wasn't.
That's Bruce St. James.
Yep. And Charlie Wedo. Okay. So, and they were at Power 92. And I was like, man, I would love to be at Power 92. So I went in there, approaching this the way I approach everything else in the music business. I'm just going to mob in there and be Corina and just Corina all over this thing. And, you know, how are they going to say no to this? But shit, they were like, we're not even looking right now. We don't. You could send them your demo, put it in the mail, and they give me their address. I was like, okay, cool. Pissed. I was just irritated. I was like, that's how it works? I didn't know. I told you I don't know anything about this thing. So, and I was spoiled because I landed on a morning show where they knew what the hell they were doing and all I did was just fall in line and just go, you know? So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just keep working. A while goes by, I hit them up again and they go, yeah, send in your demo. I go, I don't want to do that. I really want to meet them. I want to shake their hand. I want to say hello. They have to see who I am. And yeah, I have air checks, but you know what? It's a part of a big badass morning show and it's not who I'm going to be here. So I can give them some stuff, but I can't even give them, I hadn't even done any weekend shifts by myself or anything, really. I didn't even know how to run a board. Had no idea. I had been the third mic. So I knew how to turn the mic on, turn the mic off, you know, but I didn't know nothing about reels or carts or any of that. So it was still intimidating and I wasn't going to push too hard because some things you can fake it till you make it and some things you cannot.
Amen to that one.
So I was like, damn, I'm good at doing this third mic thing, but.
Right.
So one day I'm having furniture delivered to my house. And the guy delivering the furniture, setting up the bed, has a seizure on the floor, hits his head. The ambulance is there, the fire department, the police, and my home phone rings. And I run over to it and I go, hello? Hi, is Corina there? You know what, who is this? It's Charlie Wedo. I go, I can't talk right now, pling. Because I'm in the midst of all and I go, oh, shit. All I wanted was for them to call me.
Here it is.
He called and I hung up on him. I didn't get his number.
Right.
I just get through the ordeal. And I think I called him the next day.
Okay.
Or maybe even he called me back. I think he did.
Okay.
And he's like, am I catching you at a better time? And I was like, yeah. He's like, we're looking to make some changes around here. I'd love to meet you. Can you come to the station? Do you know how to run the board? And I was like, not quite exactly.
Right.
He's like, all right, I got Julian here. I already knew Julian. Julian was the night dude who's just as cool as a human can be, and the best teacher, the best, the most patient, kind, soft, mild-mannered, soft-tempered, easygoing. And we already knew each other, so I was like, oh, Julian, that's my guy. Yeah, come up in there. Yeah. I came that very night, and Julian was there for a 4-hour shift. I met him at the beginning of the shift. The first 2 hours, he ran the board, told me everything. Okay. And I wanted to take notes, but I was like, nah, let me lock this in. And the second 2 hours, he said, it's all you. Right. I was like, oh, dang. But guess what? The nerves were gone because I didn't have to talk at the same time. Yeah. And all I was worried about, I've never been worried about the talking part. Clearly, I have no problem doing that. But if anything, it's like, you need to bring these breaks down to like this. But so yeah, he taught me how to run the board, and then any nerve I had about it was gone because I felt like a G in there. I was like, I can do this. Right. At the end of the shift, I think Charlie hits me up and goes, how do you feel about it? And I said, I feel great. Yeah. Ask Julian how I did. I don't know. I mean, he'll tell you the truth, I'm sure. And Julian's like, nah, man, she's ready. And I immediately was put on weekends first. And then it went to another thing. And then there was 6 man, like, okay, so-and-so can't come. Minnie Salas, I love her. Minnie Salas, yeah. Minnie Salas, Midday Girl, Midnight Mamacita, obviously Melissa. But I just end up being like the fill-in person and weekends and whatever. And there was already a Friday night Flavas. See, I do get to the story eventually, don't I? Yeah.
Originally it was the Baker Boys, correct?
Well, yes, but there was also a dude named Double A Ron. Yeah. And they had started Friday night Flavas. I want to give him that credit because he was in there doing his thing. And I'm going to be truly, brutally honest. I do not recall for the life of me how I ended up with Friday Night Flavas. Can't. I don't know if it was because I was around at all the hip hop shows. I was getting hip hop interviews still. And that was like, I was begging for that. Like, man, I've got like everybody because I still got this guy at this service. We don't have to pay for the service. He's just going to hook me up. They're already doing a radio tour. They'll call us. I can do these So I started doing them on my own on a little recorder. Yeah, wow. I backed those up. I had all kinds of them. Then I'm like, man, I got this. I got local artists. I almost started like my own little Jack record pool because I started hitting all the labels to send me vinyl. Then they'd send me too much. Then I'd just call the DJs that I knew who I knew weren't in a pool. And I'd be like, hey, you know what? I got you. There's a new singles. Right. I can even give you doubles. Like, so, and I mean, and then that's in the time where you had really big DJs that were already really starting to make their name. Fashion, Z-Trip, yep. They were doing their thing. Yeah. And they were starting to do more traveling, so you're starting to see less of them. And right. The Tempe Bronx crew, I know you've heard of them, that TBK. They just, all of that all started moving. Everything started kind of moving and shifting. So it was kind of cool that I was there to be able to plug in to Friday Night Flavas, bring the love that I had for hip hop because I love hip hop so much. Hip hop, that hip hop where, like you said, again, it was fun. It was fun. There were lyrics that meant so much, and I was a total East Coast hardcore underground hip hop fan. And again, it's not just a radio thing for me. It's still about my music, my artist. It's still about Heaven Sent for damn sure, because he's always going to be my artist no matter what, you know. After the Wu-Tang thing, after we met them, they offered to sign Heaven Sent. Literally called me on their way to New Mexico the day after that show and said, we want to sign him. I was like, he's too young. But he's with me. Like, he's getting all the exposure. He ended up on the road with everybody, the Alcoholics. Catastrophe Tash from the Alcoholics was like, you know, a big brother to him. And a lot of the West Coast artists got to know him, and all the East Coast artists got to know him. We would go to New York. I mean, I would take him. If they said they were doing a show, I'd be like, please put Heaven Sent on. Put the franchise on. All right, you guys are going here to perform. We're going to Tucson. That was a good start. Like, we're going to go here. We're going to go there. Take them there. So I was still trying to keep in that mix, and Friday Night Flavas was perfect because I was still talking to all the artists, and I was talking to all the artists, ones that you're like, how are you getting Guru, rest in peace? Like, how are you getting Jay-Z? But back to Fresno, I met Jay-Z the same way, just mobbed up in there, knew one person's name, used that name. It wasn't because of the radio station, it was because we were there for the radio station, and it was in Bakersfield, their last stop of the Hard Knock Life tour, and I knew DMX's people, so we saw DMX. He rapped, Heaven Sent rap for DJ Clue, then he was like, you gotta rap for X, and you gotta rap for this person. They're like, we gotta take him on the bus to meet Jay. And next thing you know, he's on the bus meeting Jay-Z and rapping for Jay-Z, and then Jay's like, oh, snap. And he ended up in the movie. And DMX gave him his remote control car that he had had on the entire tour with him. Everybody knew, if you knew X, you saw him with that car. So when Heaven was walking out with it in his arms, they were going, hey, yo, shorty, where'd you get that? And you see the top, and it's signed real big to Heaven Sent. It was like, you truly are Heaven Sent. Stay blessed. X, like real big on the top of the car.
Incredible.
So back to Friday Night Flavas. It was a perfect fit for me.
For sure.
For the people I had that I knew, the shows that were coming to town. Ty was huge in bringing everybody I ever needed to come to town was there. And it was like, boop, here I am. Then I ended up getting pregnant with my third child.
Okay.
And it was 8 years after I had had my last kid. So I had two. We waited 8 years and had another baby.
Yeah.
Well, I was pregnant for a long time at Power and wasn't saying anything because I was so scared that if they found out I was pregnant, they would think I'm unreliable and they think I'm not going to be here and they're going to let me go. And it kind of sort of went like less hours, you know, and I'm like, but I'm pregnant and I need insurance and I mean, all this stuff I do, it's a lot of work. I need more hours.
Right.
And literally at that moment, boom, Kid and Ruben went to the party, 103.9.
Yeah.
They were over there for a little while. Corina, you got to come through, do middays. Corina, come through, do middays. Wow. Working with Kid and Ruben started by, again, establishing a relationship with people. They were at Power. I was at Power. They went to the party, 103.9, the party.
Yeah.
Man, I hated that station. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Radio Wars. Again, you're talking to a non-radio person, a person who's on the radio, but never really got too involved in the politics because I had so much shit going on. It was like, yeah, that's a lot to take on, worrying about who's across the street and worrying about who's doing what. I don't care, but Radio Wars were serious back then. And when the party came on, they were doing crazy stuff like bombarding Power 92 shows with their bat light out of hotel rooms, like onto the stage. And I'm like, this is just rude. I don't like this station. They're so rude.
Right.
Like, what is this? But I started to understand the radio battle, like what it all really meant. So I was like, all right, I get it. Well, Kid and Ruben went to the party. They were there for a while. I'm pregnant. I'm thinking next steps, and I get a call from them saying, you should come over here. They need somebody for middays. You should totally do it. I was like, really? There? I swear, for real, there? Are you guys going to stay? Is what I asked them. And they said yes.
Right.
Let me just tell you, I went back to work. Okay, so I quit. Friday Night Flavas ended up kind of going from me and Rob, it was like this person's inserted and Lil Sean and Squeak and all of them. Like it was just it just was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was kind of, you know, making my way out and getting ready to have a baby. Then I did have my baby, and that's when Kid and Ruben call and go, come do middays. I was like, I had a baby like 4 weeks ago. This is ridiculous. You can't go back to work that fast. But like another week later, I was there.
Yeah.
And guess what? After my very first week on the air, Kid and Ruben left and went to Kiss.
Right.
And they're playing Kiss by Prince
Oh, yeah.
for like, I don't know, days. Remember? Just back to back to back. I don't know if you remember
I think so.
when it went from KZZP to Kiss FM. But when it did, they played Kiss, and then Kid and Ruben are there. And I go to work. This is how I find out, though. I go to work and find out And I was like, damn, you guys are seriously gonna do this? I told you I didn't really wanna make this move, and now I'm here, and they're asking me to sign a contract. And then I get a call from Steve Smith and goes, hey, I know you just got there, but you know, I got a contract for you. I got whoopsie-whoopsie-woo going on over here. Your boys are there, Kid and Ruben. We need you for afternoon drive at Kiss FM. I'm like, yes, yes. So I actually started on Kiss FM. It was Kid and Ruben in the morning, Corina in the afternoon, and that was it. Yeah. Then they started sprinkling in. So they brought them in for a couple of weeks. It was just them. And they went all morning show hit. Then they brought me in. Then it was morning and afternoon drive. Then it was Clear Channel. Okay. Then I learned a Clear Channel lesson, and that is if you're not importing, you're exporting, or however that goes. Like importing means we're bringing in people from somewhere else to do shifts. Exporting is you are going to be somewhere else doing shifts. And you're going to be one or the other. Right. So it was like, okay, so I'm doing afternoon drive, and then I'm on in this city and that city and this city. I'm on in all over California, parts of California I still have never been to. And that was really cool, but man, it was a lot of work. Yeah. And then I was pregnant again. With my fourth, because I told you I knew I was gonna have four. Yeah. So now I'm getting my fourth baby, and then we get a new program director, yeah. And they tell me I'm gonna be moving to mornings with Kid and Ruben, and it was just that kind of thing. It wasn't really much of a conversation. It was like, look, we're making moves. I didn't really understand how radio moves. I still was like, dang, I know when I moved here, I used to listen to KUKQ, and then I woke up one day and it was Q Country. I should have known from then that radio stations would just go, boop, we're doing something else, we're going that way. Right. But I didn't still understand that. I was still like, hey, all right, cool. I mean, we're still doing this thing. I was still doing all my other stuff, right. And raising kids. Right. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, I go over there, I do afternoon drives, I get moved down to mornings. Then it's like, all right, mornings with Kid and Ruben, and you can do middays. So then I was live mornings with Kid and Ruben, middays, and 9 other stations in the country. Then I became music director under Tom Calicochi. Still love that man with all my heart, man. That was like, I had the best working relationship with that dude because we just understood each other's fire and feistiness and ability to get annoyed at some stuff, you know? And he didn't care. He's like, she'll get over it. Or I didn't care. He'll get over it. You know, like we just had a great working relationship. I became his music director, APD, and then he left. And Mark Medina came. And then I was the music director with Mark for a short period of time, and then Chino was there. And I think he ended up making him his music director, and I was focused on all these other stations. This was the Medina's and mornings. Yep. Right? Yep. And mornings with Kid and Ruben. And we did that for years. I mean, we did mornings and had the wildest time, man. Yeah. The Kid and Ruben in the morning thing, when they said I was doing it, I was like, I mean, they're my boys. Of course I want to do mornings. Yeah. And it wasn't a conversation anyway, but yes, I want to do mornings. You talk about fun times. And I mean, keep in mind, I didn't know radio antics still. I still was very like, I mean, I was doing what I had to do on the radio, doing my job, but I just still wasn't getting involved in the, like, first of all, whoever's across the street, I don't even know what that means. When I go to the club, if I see Jackie Morales, I'm going to say hi to Jackie Morales. Yeah. We are not competitors. I love that woman, right? Like, so I didn't have that radio attitude where it's like, oh, we don't talk to the people across the street. No, I talk to everybody. I want to be friends with all of y'all. And even if we're not friends, let's just have this mutual respect. We're all here to do something we love so much. And I want to have fun doing it. And I had many, many, many years of fun doing it. Lots of years of fun. Time after radio is still very much connected to all things radio in the way of like this. Like, I think, in light of everything I'm telling you, like the way I approached radio it was about people for me. It wasn't about, oh, of course I cared about my ratings and I wanted to win, but I didn't make that my primary like What are the numbers saying? What are the numbers saying? It was like, how am I connecting with my community? What am I doing that's helping people? You said from here you wanted to help people and touch people and affect people, and you're not a singer. You're putting out a lot of other people's stuff, and you're doing stuff that involves singing and music and all the stuff you love, but how do you continue after radio? Because in radio, obviously there's gonna be a connection. The community, that's what radio is. We are plugged into the community. So that relationship is what I took the most seriously. Like, I really cared about what I'm doing in the community, the love I get back, the respect I get because I mean what I say and I say what I mean, and I do what I say I'm gonna do. And I've worked with a lot of organizations over the years, ones that are near and dear to my heart, that take care of people, that take care of homeless people, homeless children, battered women, very important to me, very important to my family. Things that are helping people be positive, you know, live happily, live healthy. So after radio, I really have always had a passion for good health and how it affects us mentally, how it affects our ability to cope with day-to-day things. While I was at Cool FM, which was my last few years in radio, were spent there, last 4 years. While I was there, I got very, very sick. I had a lot of health problems that finally, they had been affecting me my whole life, but finally came to a head where I could not function. I couldn't speak, I was stuttering, I had like a lot of crazy things going on, lost a lot of weight, had a lot of health problems. And after going to the doctor for all these years, they just had gotten worse and worse and worse. I finally took matters into my own hands. And that was do research and find out what could actually be making me sick, since no one really wanted to tell me. I had a friend who reached out to her mother, who was also a friend of mine, and said, something is really wrong with Corina. Like, we haven't been able to figure out what's going on with her. She just doesn't want to go do anything. She's totally shut off from the world. She's stuttering and like weird things. Yeah. And her mom hits me up on Facebook and sent me this long paragraph about how are you doing and all her life. And I was like, oh, I'm doing great. Life is good. You know, I'm divorced now. Life is actually really great. You know, I'm in a much better place. I'm in an awesome relationship. I have this amazing man and my kids are all happy and my business is thriving and my kids are doing great and heaven is great and this is great and this is great. And she's like, but for real.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sick. You know, I can't leave the house. I feel really terrible. So she sends me another paragraph. Does any of this sound familiar to you? And I had every single symptom except for one, which was like sores in your mouth or something. And I'm like, dang, this just hit me in the heart. Yeah. I go, yeah, like that's my life right now and it sucks. And she goes, maybe you need to just change your diet. Yeah. And I go, I would drink water for life, for the rest of my life, only drink water if it would change the way I'm feeling. She said, look, cut this out, cut that out, try this. And I did. 5 days. Took 5 days for me to start feeling better. And the passion that I felt about being able to share the change in my life that I made by consciously changing my food, changing my environment, changing my friends, took me from a place where I was like always able to find happiness to a place where I was actually legitimately living happy. Not just finding things to be happy about and making sure that I'm smiling, but like really living happy. Absolutely. My passion became, how do I share that with people? How do I tell people? How do I be an example? How is it, oh, so many people suffer from migraines or anxiety, crippling anxiety, teeth chattering, stuttering anxiety. How can I help? Started doing workshops about diet, about anti-inflammatory eating and dietary allergies, little simple things. You'd be amazed though, because it really is up to us when you're feeling totally beat down by the world. There's something that can be changed. And interestingly enough, for me and for a lot of people I've talked to over all these years, it starts with your food, what you're putting in your mouth. They say it when you're little, you are what you eat. You don't know what that means until someone breaks it down. So I've spent a lot of years working out, teaching people how to work out. I'm not a trainer, but teaching people who just are desperate to figure out a better way of living, you know, the things that I've learned, that's all. Still work with a bunch of organizations, community-wise, for a lot of different reasons. My kids are still actively involved, and I'm still managing their careers. I have a son now who's in Vegas, who is only, I mean, he's like heaven sent,
Okay.
but dance.
Okay. Okay.
My daughter, Sky, danced for the Mercury. She's danced all over and done lots, and she's a singer. And so I've really just spent a lot of years, if it hasn't been helping people achieve what they want from their health, it's managing my children's careers and keeping them on a path where they're, you know, successful with what they want to be doing. And, you know, it's really fun to see all the hard work come back around, and in such an interesting, when I was actually looking for some pictures to show you, just to kind of give you some examples of stuff. And then I'm like, we really have done a ton of stuff. It's almost unbelievable. It's almost a story too good to be true, but we've lived it. And I would never change one single thing about it. Not a thing. I've just had a great time, and I've used everything that I've learned along the way and all the people I've met along the way to just help me help others live a life that's, you know, more fulfilling. And my children first and foremost, because if you haven't figured out anything from this whole thing, that's my number one priority, always has been, is my kids and now my grandkids. Special and loved. The special thing, I don't put too much thought into that or consideration, just because I guess that's a thought that's just not something I really think about. I think about myself as just being only me, unique. Maybe special in the way of like, I'm the only one there is. I wish everybody really could grasp what that means. Like, I'm the only one I got. I'm the only one y'all got. Trust me, we probably really want it that way. It's a whole lot. But loved means everything to me. And I do feel loved, because I still, to this day, if I laugh in public, it's a wrap. I mean, it's, oh, you know, if I laugh out loud, if I really let a laugh go, I'm definitely going to get someone go, oh my God, I know you were. The fun part is, I grew up listening to you on the radio, you know, and they're grown-ups now, and you're like, dang, you're right. But the love, man, to be honest, it's the only thing that's ever mattered to me, is that I'm doing something that makes you feel loved. And I feel like love is a reciprocated thing. I feel like if you love me, it is because I've made you feel loved at some point. I made you feel good. And so that's not something that I would ever take lightly, take for granted, or not recognize, because I didn't ever get into radio or do any of the things I did to be a star or be a celebrity. I did them to really genuinely affect people in a positive way, and to make good, have good interactions with people. That's been my sole purpose in life, is just have an interaction with you. If it's a one-off, I want it to be a solid one-off, where you walk away and go, wow, you know what? That was a good interaction. I want that. And so special and loved is dope, because it means that my purpose is being fulfilled, and the love is something I actually feel. And that, there's nothing like that. I mean, money can't give you that. And nothing, success won't give you that. Just good communication, good relationships, good, strong interactions with people that they'll remember, and that they won't walk away from going, what a jerk, you know? And I pride myself on that. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I do feel loved. And I just have a deep amount of gratitude for that. So thank you. And thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
And there you have it. Man, shout out to Corina. You know, this was just truly a treat right here. You know, thank you so much for being a part of our show. I feel like the entire, Arizona hip hop scene really owes you a lot. And, you're definitely well deserving of your flowers. I told you that off camera after the episode, and I meant it. Everything that you've accomplished, it's truly inspiring, even for myself, and I'm sure everybody watching this. So I wish you nothing but continued success and blessings in everything that you have going on now. And once again, thank you for being a part of our show. All right. Make sure you guys are following her on social media. And shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to that YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so you get notified on all the upcoming episodes. All right. Well, this was definitely one for the books. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy. Just give me 5, y'all.
Everything